The courtroom was full of people. Some were whispering, some were waiting quietly. The judge sat high on his chair, wearing a black robe, serious and silent. Everyone thought this was just another normal court case. But today was different. At the back of the courtroom, a young black girl named Amara walked in slowly. She was only 14 years old, with big, curious eyes and short, curly hair. She held a notebook tightly in her hands. She wasn't here to speak. She wasn't here to defend anyone. She was here because the judge called her. No one understood why. Amara looked around nervously. People stared at her with confusion. "Why is there a kid here?" someone whispered. "Did she do something wrong?" another person asked. But Amara kept walking toward the front. When she reached the table in front of the judge, he looked down at her with a small smile. "Good morning, Amara," the judge said. Amara nodded. "Good morning, sir." The judge leaned forward and said, "Something very strange. Let's play a game." Everyone in the courtroom looked at each other. A game? In court? Was this a joke? But the judge was serious. He took out a piece of paper from his file and placed it on the table. There was a puzzle on it. A logic puzzle with numbers and letters. It looked like something from a math contest. "You have 1 minute," the judge said. "Solve it." Amara didn't say anything. She looked at the paper carefully. People waited. Some laughed. Some thought it was a waste of time. One man in the back whispered, "What is this judge trying to do? Is he testing her?" Another said, "She's just a kid. She won't understand." But Amara didn't look scared. She stared at the puzzle like it was speaking to her. She picked up a pen. Her hand moved fast. Tick, tick, tick. The clock was counting down. Seconds passed. Seconds. Then Amara put down the pen. "I'm done," she said quietly. The judge raised his eyebrows. He picked up the paper and read it. His face changed. He read it again. Then again. "She's right," he said. Gasps filled the room. People couldn't believe it. The puzzle was not easy. It was something college students couldn't solve quickly, but Amara had done it in less than a minute. "Where did you learn this?" the judge asked. Amara looked at him. "Nowhere. I just saw the answer." The judge sat back in his chair. For a few seconds, he didn't speak. Then he looked at the people in the courtroom and said something even more surprising. "This girl is not on trial. She's not in trouble. I brought her here because I wanted to see if her mind is as sharp as they say." Now the story began to unfold. Amara was not just any girl. She was different. At her school, teachers noticed she solved problems faster than anyone. She had no tutors, no computer at home, no extra help. She lived in a poor neighborhood, but she read books from the library every day. She taught herself puzzles, math, logic, and even law, but no one gave her a chance. Until today. The judge continued, "Years ago, I created this game. A secret test. I wanted to find the smartest child in the city. Not the richest, not the one with the best school. The smartest. I didn't expect Amara to show up. She wasn't even on the list." People leaned in, shocked and interested. "So why is she here?" someone asked aloud. The judge answered with a strange smile. "Because fate brought her here." Amara looked, confused. "I don't understand," she said. The judge nodded slowly. "You will. This was just the beginning." Then he took out another paper from his file. This one was bigger, more complicated, with symbols and numbers that made people's heads spin. "Let's see how far your mind can go," he said. "Are you ready for level 2? The crowd went silent. Everyone's eyes were on Amara. Would she solve it again? Was this all just a test, or was something else going on? Something deeper? No one knew. But one thing was sure. This courtroom was no longer a place of rules and laws. It had become a battlefield of the mind. and Amara was the quiet warrior in the middle. The courtroom was quiet again. Amara stood in front of the judge, her hands shaking slightly, but her eyes stayed calm. The second puzzle was already on the table. It was harder than the first one. More symbols, more confusion. Even the people watching could not understand it. The judge looked at Amara and said, "You have 60 seconds. Tick." The timer started. Amara didn't move for the first 5 seconds. She just stared at the paper. Everyone was watching her. Some thought she would give up. Some hoped she would fail. "She's just lucky," a woman whispered. "She can't do it again," said a man behind her. But Amara didn't care what they thought, because Amara's mind worked differently. Where others saw a mess of numbers and shapes, Amara saw a story. She saw patterns hiding behind the noise. She remembered books she had read from the library, books with puzzles, secrets, codes. Her fingers moved quickly now. She wrote something, erased it, wrote again. Seconds gone. Seconds. The judge leaned forward, watching her every move. Then at exactly 49 seconds, Amara put the pen down. "I'm done," she said again. The judge picked up the paper. He looked at it, then looked at her. "Correct," he said softly. Gasps filled the courtroom again. Once could be luck, twice, that was something else. People stood up to get a better look at her. The same people who doubted her were now whispering different words. "She's a genius. How is this possible? Who taught her?" But no one taught Amara. She learned everything herself. The judge leaned back in his chair, still holding the paper. "Tell me something, Amara," he said. "How did you know the answer?" Amara thought for a moment. "I don't know," she replied. "When I look at it, I just see it." "You see the answer?" "No. I see the path, like a road inside my head." The judge nodded slowly. "You don't think like other children," he said. Amara looked down. "People say I'm weird." "You're not weird," the judge said. "You are rare." Then the judge spoke to the whole courtroom. "I created this puzzle game to test minds. I believe there were some children out there with special brains, brains that think outside the box. Amara is one of them. Maybe the only one." The crowd started clapping softly, but Amara didn't smile. She was thinking about her life outside. This courtroom. She lived in a small house with her mother. Her father left when she was little. Her mother worked all day and came home tired. They didn't have money for a computer. Sometimes they didn't even have food. But Amara had books. Every day after school, she went to the library and read everything she could find: math, logic, history, science. She didn't understand everything, but she kept reading. She taught herself how to see problems in a new way. She learned that most people only look at the surface, but the real answers live underneath. Back in the courtroom, the judge stood up. "People say the law is about truth and justice," he said. "But I say it's also about thinking clearly, solving problems, seeing what others miss." He looked at Amara again. "I brought you here for a reason. This court is part of a secret project, a test to find young minds that can change the world. I didn't expect to find someone like you." The judge paused. "But now that I have, the real test begins." He turned to his clerk and said, "Prepare the third challenge. This one, no one has solved before." People gasped again. "Oh, what? This girl really going to do the impossible?" Some were excited, some were scared, others were jealous. But Amara just stood there, quiet and focused, because she knew something no one else knew. This wasn't about games anymore. This was about proving that no matter where you come from, even a poor girl from a forgotten street can be the smartest person in the room. The courtroom doors were closed now. No one could enter. No one could leave. The judge had ordered it. On the table in front of Amara sat the third puzzle. It looked like something from another world. Numbers, symbols, and strange shapes no one in the room could understand. Not even the lawyers. The judge said, "This puzzle has never been solved. Many have tried. All have failed." Amara looked at it quietly. She didn't move. She didn't panic. She just stared, as if the puzzle was trying to talk to her. People whispered again, "Why is he doing this? What is the point of this game?" And finally, someone asked the question that had been on everyone's mind from the beginning. "Why? Her?" The judge stood up. His voice was softer now, less firm, less powerful. He looked around the room and said, "Let me tell you a story I've never told before." The room became silent. "All of you know me as a strict judge. I follow the law. I protect justice. But many years ago, I was just a young man, full of dreams, full of hope." He paused and looked at Amara. "I grew up in a poor neighborhood too, just like you. I was the only boy in my class who liked puzzles. I used to stay up late solving problems with a broken pencil and an old book. No one believed in me, but I worked hard. I became a lawyer, then a judge." He sighed. "But something always stayed with me. A question." He looked at the people in the courtroom. "What if there are children out there just like me, but smarter, better, faster? What if they are lost in the system, forgotten by society?" People listened with full attention. The judge continued. "That's when I created the secret test, a series of puzzles. I kept it hidden, shared it with only a few schools. I wanted to find that one special mind, a child who could see the world differently, a child who could change things." He looked at Amara again. "You were not on the list. You were never supposed to be here, but sometimes fate has its own plans." Amara stayed quiet, but her heart was beating fast. She remembered how she found the invite. It was in the trash, a crumpled paper near the school principal's desk. She picked it up out of curiosity. The puzzle on it called to her. She solved it in minutes. The clock kept ticking. Amara was deep in thought. The final puzzle sat in front of her like a quiet enemy. It looked simple at first, but the deeper she went, the more confusing it became. Symbols changed shape. Numbers didn't follow normal rules. It was like the puzzle was alive and fighting back. For the first time, Amara's hand began to shake. The courtroom watched in silence. She wiped sweat from her forehead. Something felt wrong. The judge noticed it too. He leaned forward and whispered to his assistant, "Is this the version I created?" The assistant hesitated. "No, sir. This puzzle was updated yesterday. Someone changed it." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Who?" The assistant looked down. "A man from the education board. He said the original puzzle was too easy for a girl like her." The judge clenched his fists under the desk. He understood now. This was not just a test anymore. This was a trap built to break her spirit. Amara didn't know this, but she felt something strange. The puzzle didn't follow any logic she had seen before. It was twisting, turning, designed to confuse. She bit her lip and tried again. She erased everything, started over, then erased again. Nothing made sense. In the crowd, the man in the dark suit smiled quietly. "She won't finish." "It!" he whispered. "This is what happens when you let poor children dream." His words were cruel, but some people nodded. They didn't want Amara to win, because her winning would mean they were wrong. That real intelligence doesn't come from money. It comes from pain, hunger, and fire, the kind of fire Amara had. But even fire can burn out. And now Amara felt tired. Her hands dropped to her lap. Her head hung low. For the first time, she felt like giving up. Then she heard a voice, soft, gentle. Her mother's voice, inside her mind. "Don't stop, baby. You were born to rise. Amara closed her eyes. She remembered all the nights she studied, by candlelight. All the times her classmates laughed at her clothes. All the times teachers ignored her hand in the air. She didn't come this far to lose. She opened her eyes again, and something happened. She saw the puzzle, not as a trap, but as a story. It was trying to trick her, but that meant it had a pattern. Even tricks had rules, and she could beat it. Her hand moved again, this time slower, wiser. She didn't follow the puzzle's path. She made her own, one step. Then another. Every number, every symbol began to fall in place. The judge watched with hope in his eyes. She was close. So close. Then suddenly, Amara stopped. Her pen froze mid-air. She looked up. Her eyes were full of emotion. I know this isn't the real puzzle, she said loudly. Gasps filled the room. The judge stood up. What did you say? Amara pointed at the paper. This was changed. It doesn't follow the same style. It's made to confuse me on purpose. The judge looked at her with deep respect. You're right. The courtroom exploded. Some people cheered. Some stood in shock. The judge raised his hand. Order in the court. Everyone went quiet. Then he turned to the crowd and said, This girl didn't just solve a puzzle, she exposed a lie. A test that was made to destroy her. But she didn't fall. She saw the truth. She stayed strong. He looked back at Amara. You are not just smart, Amara. You are wise. You think differently. And you see beyond what others can. Amara didn't smile. She just breathed deeply, because she knew this fight was not over. If people were willing to cheat to stop her, what would they try next? But she also knew something else. They were scared. Scared of her mind. Scared of her heart. Scared of what she could become. The courtroom was still. No one spoke. No one moved. Amara had done something no one expected. She found the truth inside a lie. She proved the puzzle was fake. She didn't just play the game. She beat the game makers. The judge sat back in his chair. His face was serious now. He looked at the men from the education board, the same ones who changed the puzzle. You tried to stop her, he said calmly. Why? The man in the dark suit stood up. This girl is dangerous, he said. She doesn't belong in a place like this. She's not trained, not tested. If you let her win, every school, every system will collapse. The judge raised an eyebrow. Are you afraid of her? The man looked away. Yes, he said. We are. The crowd gasped again. Amara stood quietly, listening. Her eyes didn't show fear, only understanding. She finally saw the truth. This wasn't about puzzles. This was about power. And powerful people were afraid of someone like her because she couldn't be controlled. Later that day, Amara sat in a small room behind the court. She was tired. Her hands were still shaking. Her mother was finally allowed to visit. She ran in, hugged Amara tight. I saw everything, her mother said with tears. You were so brave. Amara didn't cry. She just whispered, They don't want me to win, Mama. Her mother held her face. That's because they know you already did. Meanwhile, outside, something else was happening. News channels had picked up the story. Poor girl outsmarts elite system in live court test. Genius girl exposes unfair education puzzle. Videos of Amara were being shared everywhere. People on the streets were talking about her. Students in schools, mothers in markets, even old men in tea shops. Some called her a hero. Some called her a troublemaker. But everyone knew her name now. Amara. But not all attention is good. The next morning, the school that ignored her sent a letter. Amara is no longer allowed to attend. They said she caused too much noise. She was not a good fit. Her mother read the letter and tore it into pieces. They're scared of what you represent, she said. That a girl from nothing can become everything. Amara looked at the floor. I don't want fame, Mama, she whispered. I just want a chance. That chance was about to come. The judge called Amara again, not to solve a puzzle, but to make a choice. He said, "The board wants to end this now. They want to shut the project down. But I will not let that happen." He looked deep into her eyes. "You have one more test, Amara. But this time it's not a puzzle. It's a question." Amara waited. He asked, "Will you fight back or walk? Away?" Amara didn't answer right away. She walked outside the court building. She looked at the sky. The city moved around her. Cars, people, noise. She thought about all the little girls who had dreams like hers, and how many were told to stay quiet. Then she looked at her hands, small hands, but powerful. She walked back into the judge's office. Her answer was simple. "I will fight." Amara had made her choice. She would fight, not just for herself, but for every child like her, for every voice that had been silenced, for every dream that had been buried. But the world outside the courtroom was different. There were no puzzles, no judges, just people, and some of them didn't want her to speak. The next morning, Amara and her mother stepped outside. Camera lights flashed. Reporters shouted questions. "Amara, how did you solve the puzzle? Do you think you're smarter than rich kids? Are you trying to break the system?" Amara stayed quiet. Her mother held her hand tightly. At school, her old classmates watched her on their phones. Some were amazed. Others were jealous. One girl whispered, "She's just lucky." Another said, "She won't last long." Jealousy was growing, and so was fear. Because if Amara could rise from nothing, anyone could. That same day, Amara was invited to speak on a big news show. Her mother was nervous. "Are you sure?" Amara nodded. "I need to say the truth." She sat under the bright lights. The host smiled at her, but the questions were sharp. "Amara, some people say you're causing problems, that you're making smart kids feel ashamed. What do you say to that?" Amara looked into the camera. Her voice was calm. "I didn't create the problem. I only showed it." The host blinked. "And what problem is that?" Amara didn't pause. "The problem where poor kids are called slow before they even try." The room went quiet. By the next day, her words had gone viral. Millions had seen the video. Many clapped, many cried, but some were angry. Powerful people began to move in the dark. Education leaders, school owners, big money donors. "She's a threat," one said. "She's turning the system upside down," another replied. So they planned something. A letter came to Amara's home. It looked official. It said she was being investigated. It said her test scores didn't match her background. It, said she, may have cheated. Her mother read it in silence. Amara stared at the paper. They were trying to erase her success. But this time, Amara didn't cry. She didn't break. She smiled. "They want to scare me," she said. "That means I'm winning." Later that week, a secret video leaked online. It showed men from the education board changing her puzzle, the same puzzle she had solved. The truth was out. The trap had been real, and now the world knew. Public anger exploded. Parents, students, even teachers protested. "Justice for Amara! Change the system!" The judge held a press conference. His voice was strong. "Amara is not the problem. She is the proof. The proof that talent can come from anywhere." He paused. "And we should build a world where every child gets a real chance." Amara watched it all from her small home. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt like a girl who just refused to stay quiet. But she also knew something else now. This battle was just beginning, because changing one courtroom is hard, but changing the whole world, that takes everything. The sun rose quietly over the city. It was a new day, but for Amara, it was more than that. It was a new beginning. The judge had called for a final meeting, this time not in the courtroom, but in a large hall filled with reporters, teachers, students, and leaders from across the country. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. When Amara walked in, people stood up. Some clapped, some whispered, some just stared. But Amara didn't look afraid. She looked ready. The judge stood at the front of the stage. He raised his hand. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Today is not about rules. It's not about systems. It's about truth." He turned toward Amara. And truth sometimes comes from the most unexpected place. The crowd watched as Amara stepped forward to speak. She looked down at the paper in her hand, then she folded it and put it away. "I don't need to read a speech," she said, "because I've lived it." Her voice was calm, clear. "When I walked into that courtroom, I was just a girl with a puzzle. I didn't want fame. I didn't want to break anything. I just wanted to be seen." She looked at the students in the front row. "You see, I was never the problem. The system was. The rules were never made for someone like me, so I stopped playing by them." A few people shifted in their seats. Her words were bold, but they were true. Amara continued. "They tried to scare me. They called me names. They took away my school. But they couldn't take my mind. They couldn't take my voice." She paused. "And now, I want to use that voice. Not for myself, but for every kid who's still waiting to be noticed." The judge stepped forward and smiled. "You've already started, Amara?" He held up a paper. "This is a letter from the National Education Council. They want to offer you a scholarship to any university you choose." The crowd clapped. But Amara didn't smile. She looked at the letter, then looked at the judge. "Thank you," she said. "But I want something more." The room went silent. "What do you mean?" the judge asked. Amara looked at the audience. "I want a program, not just for me, but for all students like me. A chance for kids from small schools, poor homes, to solve puzzles, share ideas, and grow." She held up her hand. "Let them take the test, too. Not in secret, not behind closed doors, but in every school." The judge looked at her with pride. He nodded slowly. "It will be done." And just like that, Amara didn't just pass a test, she changed the test, she rewrote the rules. Months later, the new program was launched. The Amara Challenge, a national puzzle and problem-solving competition for underprivileged students. Thousands of kids joined, and many of them said the same thing. "I believe I can, because Amara did." As for Amara, she kept studying. She kept learning, but most of all, she kept lifting others, because that's what real leaders do. She started as a girl with a puzzle and became a girl who gave the world a new way to think.